Hello and welcome to what is probably the last discussion video before the launch of Inazuma. As you can tell from the title, I'm going to be talking about 5 realistic expectations for when it launches. What I mean by this is while we're all excited, and certainly I am very excited for Inazuma, it's probably a good idea to look at things realistically based on sort of the past of Genshin and what we've already had to sort of gauge what we'll likely encounter right on launch. So I think the best way to illustrate it is just to dive right in. So we'll start off with the first point, which is that we will get only a smattering of insight into the politics of Inazuma. And what I mean by that is we'll have our first quest that sort of gets us to Inazuma, maybe a second Archon quest, but the way that Genshin tends to do things is that we'll get a prologue first in an area or quest line before we have really the meat of the story. And I think that's probably what's going to launch with Inazuma. I don't think we'll get, 3 or 4 Archon quests, but I think what we will see is probably an introduction to the Raiden Shogun, her policies, sort of how they've affected the island with the Vision Hunt and how people have to sort of live in fear of her 3 commissions. And we'll meet a few characters, probably not all of the ones that we've seen in the preview, but definitely a few characters, and sort of just get the ball rolling, but not really dive into the action and the story until a bit later on. Next thing is a lack of content that Mondstadt and Liyue had on launch. And to explain this a little bit more, based on what we've seen in the preview stream, I think that there will be a few domains for artifacts, level up material, etc., but I don't think there'll be quite as many as we had at the launch of the game. So we'll see maybe 1 or 2 artifacts, probably level up material for the first few Inazuma characters, and then later characters will have domains for them. Probably the weekly bosses will only have 1 or 2. So I think we'll probably only see a few of them at launch. I think we will see, however, a good number of side quests and exploration content. I am pretty sure that that's probably mostly done. Of course, we'll get more as time goes on, but I think that side content will be pretty substantial, but sort of resin content, domains, that sort of thing, will be a little bit sparse until later updates. The third thing I think we'll see is a shakeup of the meta, and specifically combat. The big change is likely going to be an update to the way the electro element works, probably in regards to its reactions with cryo, fire, and water. And I think they'll probably change that. People have been wanting it to be sort of buffed for quite a while now. Even beyond just an electro rework, I think that a lot of the bosses and enemies in the country will probably require different ways to go about attacking them. I don't think you'll just be able to spam attacks at most of them. Some of them, sure, but I think there will be between, the Mirror Maiden from the Fatui and some others that I've seen. They'll probably need some new strategies on how to defeat them effectively for, normal people like me and probably most of you. So I think that'll be a bit of a shakeup, and just sort of general combat changes probably are going to come. The fourth thing that I think we'll see is a few restrictions, as well as a few similarities with certain gameplay elements. I highly suspect that some parts of the map will be locked off until a certain quest is finished. If you think back to Storm Terror's lair in Mondstadt, that was locked until we finished a quest, and given that we know that the Raiden Shogun is able to create storms to keep people out of things she doesn't want, it's likely that at least 1 or 2 areas of the map will be locked off until we complete quests released either now or later on. In regards to similarities, I think that probably most of the habited areas will have mostly the same services. I don't think we'll see any new crazy, I couldn't even really think of it, but I think most of the places will just have side quests, vendors, collectible materials, that sort of thing. The final thing I think we'll see is a disappointing Electro Traveler. Just given the track record, I cannot see them being good, unfortunately, which is a shame. But what can you do? Inazuma should launch tomorrow or the next day, And maybe my predictions will be right, maybe they'll be wrong. Either way, I hope to be impressed by the launch, and I have no reason to think I won't be. So stay tuned and have fun.